When you have stress, play chess. When you fall on your ass, play chess for a real deal, for a Christian seal.
Welcome. In today's video, I will address a couple of questions. First of all, how I met you, Magnus. Secondly, what was it like meeting the current world chess champion? And third, what can you learn from this for improving your chess? Well, this picture is a little bit of clickbaiting actually, because this is not really the meeting with him I want to talk with you about. Because this meeting took place in 2015 when we both played the World Blitz and Rapid Chess Championship in Berlin, and I asked him for a selfie in the opening ceremony, and of course I screwed up, but I didn't want to bother him again, of course, because he gets a lot of requests of that type, and therefore we have to stick with this picture.
So well, the meeting I will talk to you about is the meeting I had with him back in 2003. So at the end of the year I played the famous first Saturday tournament for the first time, organized by Laszlo Nagy in Budapest. And Magnus was also playing, and actually he was only 13-year-old, but he was already playing in the GM group. So he was trying to make a Grandmaster norm, whereas I was playing in the AM group, and I actually managed to score my second international master norm. On a free day, or somewhere between rounds, we decided to play a few blitz games against each other, and actually it turned out that we played quite a few games in the end. And so I will talk to you a little bit about that and what we can learn from this. One thing I can say in the beginning is that we had more or less the same playing strength at that time. I think I narrowly won the blitz match, but this was also caused by the fact that he played a lot of different openings all the time, and whereas I really stuck to my repertoire. But still, I was pretty happy to be able to beat this young and upcoming talent, as happy as you can be beating a 13-year-old when you're in your prime. So let's have a look at the things I learned about him and about chess more generally during this match and from talking to his father. Well, the first thing that I already mentioned in the intro was that he was playing a lot of different openings. And I think this is key to improving in chess. And that's a mistake which I made for a long time, definitely. Which was to basically stick to the same opening. So with white I always played knight f3 and c4 lines, and then later on expanded a little bit towards d4 repertoire as well. However, I never really played e4, and I think this is a big shortcoming that I have as a player. On the contrary, this 13-year-old boy was already playing different openings in every game. Some of them really like sound main lines, others being like more dubious openings. Yet he had an impressive span of things, and the thing I was most impressed about when meeting him, and this sounds pretty funny in the current context, was his opening knowledge. So I think the fact that he played different openings and that he knew them from a very early age did not really contribute to him being extremely strong in openings, but more so to become a completely well-rounded player. And I think when you play different openings, you get a feeling for different pawn structures and so on. So I think to be a really complete player, it's extremely important to play different openings. My advice to you would be to start playing new openings as much as possible in blitz games, and then maybe analyze them a little bit. Do not become too obsessed with studying them in too much detail, but really try to play them as much as possible. And I think one thing that comes from playing different openings, even in long games, is that you really grow as a player. Growing as a player does not necessarily mean that your ELO rating is going to grow within the next couple of months or even the next year, but it means that you get a lot better understanding for chess in general, and this will contribute to your long-term success. So do not study different openings too much in depth. I think this is a mistake that many players make, but try to play as many structures as possible to become a well-rounded chess player. As well, what I learned from him during the tournament, where he refused to make a draw a couple of times even against stronger players by rating, is that making short draws is not going to help you improve your chess. And short draws does not necessarily mean a draw after 10 moves, but a short draw can also mean that you make a draw after 35 moves or maybe 14 moves when you have an equal endgame which still offers a lot of play. So in all of these cases, to really improve your chess, what you should do is you should just continue playing. Because the more chess you play, the better you get. And in particular, in his case, it was quite interesting that his endgame knowledge at the time when we played was not that stellar. So I remember thinking, okay, he's very good in openings, but he's not that great in endgames. So really the way of improving is to play every game until even the potentially bitter end. So even if you lose a couple of rating points in the short run by doing that, in the long run this is going to help you improve your endgame skills, your middle game skills, also your skills of really being focused for 5 hours or 6 hours. And yeah, all of this is crucial to your success in chess in the long run. So I think many of the players nowadays, many of the top players have realized this, and therefore chess has become a much more physically demanding endeavor. So towards the end of our games, his father came and he said, okay, now it's time to play football. I was a little bit surprised, but it clearly showed that they were already thinking about the physical aspect of chess and maybe also about the well-being, like mental well-being in general. And I think this is something which has changed drastically compared to when I started playing chess. So when I started playing chess, I still remember playing in a lower league in Germany, and people were smoking, and it was very different from the atmosphere nowadays. Even like top grandmasters at open tournaments, they would drink a lot in the evenings, they would smoke during the games, and I think if you take a look at the top players nowadays, most of them are in just phenomenal physical shape. So, and this was definitely an example, and I think he sets kind of a gold standard for that, which started with Kasparov, and now I think he's carrying the torch along with people like Caruana, who are just in amazing physical shape. And to play chess well, I think your physical shape is important, especially if you play these long games, because if you don't make early draws, this means that you might sit at the board for 5 hours or 6 hours. So in these cases, it's of course very important to be in good physical shape. And moreover, also like mental well-being. I think I remember his father talking about measures he took to ensure that he's not disconnected from his friends at home and so on. And I think this is in general also quite important for your success in chess, that you have a balanced life and that your general well-being is high, particularly the physical well-being, but also the mental side. So in that respect, I can just say work out even to try to improve your chess. The next point I want to raise is confidence in yourself. If you're more confident in chess, your chess results are going to improve quite a bit. The reason for this is that you will be less prone to time trouble. If you play against stronger opposition, you will be less prone to think whatever they are doing, whatever sacrifice they are presenting you is going to work. And you will just be much more confident in your ability to calculate and then also make your moves. In particular, when you play against stronger players, and that's something I experienced quite a lot when I was younger, you doubt yourself more. You think this guy is better than you, you should better double check the move. And if you do that, eventually what happens is that you end up in time trouble. And so you really do not do yourself a favor by doing that. The ideal scenario is that you play a lot of chess, and by playing a lot of chess, your confidence in your own calculation is going to grow, and thereby it's very natural to build your self-confidence. If that's not possible, for instance in my case, this is not possible because I maybe play 15 chess games per year, then what I can do is, I can, at least when I play against somebody who is very strong in the first league, I can talk to myself before the game and I can tell myself, look, this guy is very strong. Nonetheless, you should trust your calculation and you should not doubt yourself, and you should make the moves when you really think this move is good. And you should not double check everything, because in this way you're only going to end up in time trouble. And if you at least have this feeling before the game and you are very aware of this, then it's easier to be a bit more confident at the board than if you just go there, play the game, and maybe think of your opponent as some superhuman chess player. On the other hand, the confidence should not be too high, especially after the games. So after the games you should be very self-critical. And this was apparent in Magnus' reaction to losing one game against me. And in this game he basically was outplayed straight out of the opening. Afterwards he asked me, okay, so what did I do wrong? And I showed him this line, which was at the time an invention, I would say, by my old chess coach, Thomas Jakeen. And he used this very line to beat Dolmatov a couple of months later in the Aeroflot Open. So not only was he self-critical in a sense that he found a hole in his game, and but moreover he was willing to admit that to me and to let me show him how he could improve that. I think he also was probably more self-critical about his play in the endgame, which was not that stellar at the time, and thereby was able to overcome that deficiency that he had. So it's important to be self-confident during the game, but it's also important to be self-critical and analyze your games and mistakes in depth after the game. And I think I see a lot of club players who after each game just walk around and say, oh yeah, I was winning against this guy. This attitude is getting you nowhere. So you will not realize why you made your mistakes, even if you were winning, right? You didn't manage to win the game, so you made some mistakes. And if you're self-critical after the game, this kind of thing is much less likely to happen again. So maybe, yes, maybe you were winning, but you didn't convert it, so you can focus on converting your games. For instance, you can play games against computers where you're a piece up, let's say, and thereby train your skills in converting a winning position. So the next point is to learn from as many people as possible and to always try to find the strongest oppositions and the strongest training partners. I think this was a big mistake again, which I made back in the days. First of all, I thought about the local rivals as rivals rather than as being good training partners and people from whom I would learn a lot. And therefore I tried to avoid playing them sometimes and just played them when it was really important, and then I tried to show my best. Whereas he, and you can see this in the fact that at this very tournament he was playing the GM tournament, so he played against all of the players in the GM tournament, of course, and then he also played against me, who probably was the strongest player in the IM tournament. Later in his career this is much more evident, of course, when he chose to have very strong seconds and be surrounded by people who are extremely good in chess. Moreover, he never shied away from any challenge. So for instance, playing versus Nakamura in Blitz or in Chess 960. And so I think the mindset that you have if you want to be a really, really strong player is that you are not afraid of anyone and you want to play against the strongest possible opposition. And in this way you're constantly challenged, you learn from different people, which makes you grow as a player. And in total, this mindset combined with really trying to find the best, strongest possible opposition all the time, this is what will help you to learn a lot from all of the players that you play against or that you interact with. Yes, so these were my 2 cents on our meeting and how you can learn to improve in chess from that. Let me finally say that I was extremely impressed by him, and maybe even more so his father, who really managed these things extremely well. For my personal chess, I really wished I would have met him earlier, or I would have learned about these things earlier. In particular, not making any draws, which was one point that I consistently neglected during my childhood and adolescence. So I was consistently making short draws in open tournaments, even in German national championships and so on. About this focus on the physical shape, about this extreme confidence when playing chess, and finally, of course, this joy of playing chess that you could really see when you played him. So I remember telling Lorenz Drabke, who was there with me, a fellow international master from Germany, about how impressed I was with him, and he shared my opinion. So he lost against Magnus during the regular GM tournament. And we both agreed on the fact that if we were a father, that we would actually proceed in the same way if we had a son or daughter as talented as Magnus was. So I think already back then we already had this viewpoint of the father a little bit, and not only of the young boy who was obviously very talented and very strong, but we really also embraced the quality that his father brought to the table, which was crucial, I think, for his long-run success in chess and also in life. Alright, these were my 2 cents. I hope you can use this for your own chess improvement. I also hope that you liked the video. If you did so, please subscribe to the channel or leave a thumbs up. Thanks a lot for watching.